Hello there, carrier commanders. It's Bredroll here from Grim Reaper's Naval Ops, and I've been meaning to do this for a while, but I'm going to talk about some of the mods in Carrier Command 2, and specifically I'm going to talk about the mod that we want to use for our up and coming 2024 season of PvP events on the Trickies server. That mod's called Revolution, but you can't really talk about mods in Carrier Command 2 without talking about UA Enhancer and a load of the other really cool mods that go with it. So modding in CC2 isn't as easy as modding in other games, but as you can see here from my little Breakout game, you do get the power to do some quite interesting stuff, particularly in these little control screens. You can display more or less whatever you like in these screens, so you can on one Friday afternoon make a Breakout game like this. But that's not really where mods started from. The first major mod, and by far the biggest and most comprehensive of all of them, is the UA Enhancer mod, and only when you've played the game with it and without it and compared, you really see how much of a big difference it makes. So I don't have UA Enhancer loaded at the moment. This is just the stock interface for the game, for what you'd see when you load up, and you can see everything's green. You can see that hover over it, it's a BRG, that's a barge, but you can also see the things you've got in the hold. There's my albatrosses and razor bills. They're all showing up as little green X's there, and my ship's there. And if I could see them off in the distance, I think I might pick another screen. Yeah, my Needlefish over there. Well, anyway, all of those hostile things are green. So the stock interface gives you basic information. It's, if you want to be hardcore and kind of purist, then you've got the basic view of everything. It all looks like a kind of 1980s video arcade game, and it fits in keeping with the game. Where UA Enhancer really differs is it tweaks all of these things. It doesn't completely overpower any of these things or make them completely crazy. It tweaks these settings. For example, if I launch a helicopter, if I wanted to change that in here, I've got to press this lots of times to get there, whereas UA Enhancer changes that. So I'll just reload this in a second with UA Enhancer enabled. Okay, so I've just reloaded my save, but with the UA Enhancer mod switched on, and I could show you straight away some of the differences. So with the heads-up display in the camera, I now don't see all of those docked units anymore. Anything that isn't docked that's friendly is now light blue, and I get a bit more information about it. I can see the ID number and the distance, and as well as a little icon as well, which is nice. Or did it? I can't remember. I think it gave the icon without it. That's just one of the changes. The other thing that people will generally miss the most if they don't enable it is here again with altitudes. You now have the convenient set an altitude, modify it buttons, which is a brilliant time saver. Lots less clicking, but also for enemy units, when we do get one in view, we get to see them in red on our heads-up display, which I will show you in a second. Okay, so I'm now airborne, and I'm in the observation camera HUD with the UA Enhancer enabled, and we already have a little bit of differences here. We've got a hostile seal that I'm tagging with my camera, and that's red, so we get the ID number, which you don't without UA Enhancer. We also get a lot of other HUD elements as well. We've got the percentages thing down the bottom, which is 94.2% fuel remaining. It's burning 3-point-something% a minute, and it's estimated I've got 27 minutes of flight time left. That's pretty cool. That's one of the other more useful changes. Like you'll probably find with UA Enhancer, once you enable it, You'll really miss it if you play a save or a multiplayer game without UI Enhancer or some variation of it installed. UI Enhancer is great. We've used it for every one of our major multiplayer games, but starting in 2024, we are changing the mod that we're going to be using on our Tricky server PvP events to be a mod which I've created called the Revolution mod. Bit of a grandiose name for a bunch of script changes, but basically it's based on UI Enhancer, so you still get all the same benefits from that, except it's also merged with Thumblegudget's Albatross AWACS mod, where you can put the AWACS radar on an Albatross. But you also get a few other almost like revolutionary, pardon the pun, extras. So I'm going to load up the same save here, and there's several big changes that you'll notice straight away. Number one here, you go to the holo map and you've got all these grey islands. So now you can't see when someone 150 kilometers away captures another island. You don't know where your opponents are at, which is the, I call this the fog of war setting, which is it makes it a lot more immersive, a bit more realistic. You've got to be a lot more on your toes for scouting and strategy, and it makes it a lot easier to remain hidden, which is kind of fun. Now, when someone, when one of the other players captures one of these islands up here, it won't flash on the map. You won't get to see who's attacking an AI island or capturing an island from another team. You don't get any more of those hints. So you now have, you're now in the situation where scouting and things like that, and keeping a really good lookout, really make a lot more of a difference than in the standard game. Second on the list of changes for the Revolution mod is I've made Needlefish a little bit more interesting. So previously they were great little units for escorting a carrier and providing extra fire support to your fleet. As long as you could see a target with an aircraft camera or your carrier, then you could order the Needlefish to cruise missile it or hit it with torpedoes or something like that. On their own, if they were far away from the ship, they didn't actually have any sensors in them, no radar or sonar or anything like that. So they could be like right next to a hostile ship or aircraft, and it just wouldn't shoot at it. The Seawiz one would automatically engage, but you couldn't order them to attack anything. You can order them to shell islands. But now Revolution mod adds a kind of rudimentary radar to the Needlefish. So the Seawiz Needlefish, if I go and turn off my carrier radar, you'll see this in action. So the Seawiz Needlefish has an air defense, air search radar with a range of about 5 kilometers. So if I move this Needlefish towards those aircraft, I should start picking them up on radar when they kind of enter that flashing green box. So there we go. It's got radar contact for some aircraft. So what this really means for you now is you can use the Needlefish as a kind of sensor picket. You can have them far away from your carrier, use them as early warning, but you can also make them send several of them together and have them operate kind of mutually supporting each other. So now you can have a torpedo and gun Needlefish combination with a Seawiz Needlefish, and they can see anything nearby, and which means then you can order attacks. So you could, for instance, order the cruise missile Needlefish to attack one of these aircraft, for example. Another thing that these Needlefish are going to help show us is the third major thing added to the mod is electronic countermeasures, ECM. So basically you now have the option of fitting a pod to an aircraft, which is actually just the fuel tank pod because you can't really add new objects to the game. But now when you have an aircraft that's got an aircraft fuel tank pod added, it's marked as a what should I call it? Let's say, I can't remember what it's called. It's marked as an ECM. So if you have an aircraft with an ECM, it now has two effects. So if it's a Manta, as in an aircraft without radar, it'll be harder to pick up on radar. So the AWACS radar or the Needlefish radar, it will have to be a lot closer before it will start showing up on our radar. If you fit the pod to an aircraft with an AWACS radar, you'll actually get sensor ghosts. So we've got 3 contacts here. If I get in my Needlefish here and actually go and have a look, I think I'll only see 2, or maybe, yes, there's only 2 aircraft. So there is actually only 2 aircraft, but it shows up in the control screen here as 3. If you're paying attention, you can work out that you're being jammed, because the computer works this out. You know, it highlights both of them. Sometimes they move a bit weirdly. So you know, the idea is that it's adding a little bit of more realism, little tiny extra dimension to these things. You can call out to your captain, we're being jammed, I've got a sensor ghost, and he can go off and go and look at his more capable holo map display and have a look and go, yeah, the holo map only sees 2 targets, and you can kind of decide amongst yourselves which one is the real one on the screen, and just adds a little bit more interesting little element there, just for a bit more fun. Also, we've made a few other small changes, not really big ones, not revolutionary changes like those other ones, to the heads-up display. You now see top left-hand corner Charissa. So that's the name of the nearest island to this combat unit. So it's just speeds up a little bit how you communicate with your crew. You no longer is it I'm in ID 72. Where are you? I don't know. And then someone has to go and mouse over everything on the map to try and find you. You can now call out straight away, I'm at Beacon, I'm at Charissa, I've got hostiles, and you can communicate that much more clearly. So yeah, those are the changes in the Revolution mod. I hope you'll find them fun to use, and I'm going to put the links to all of the different mods and I've mentioned in the video description. Please like and subscribe, it really helps us, and thank you for watching.